I want to share a theory I've had for a bit of time and just want to offer it up to folks. And it was around the intentionality of moving the release date to August 9th by Blake Lively. And that I have always strongly believed, though no proof available to me definitively, that Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively pitched to Sony that they were going to create a Barbenheimer situation and that they would have an opportunity to be like, if everything went as planned, that they could potentially join Bruce Willis and Demi Moore as the first couple in a really long time to both have #1 movies very close to each other while they were both out at the same time. And also that that they accomplished this by making sure that maximum effort was involved in the marketing, and that was part of the push, that we know how to market movies. We know how to make things commercial. So if you allow us to do the marketing, we'll get this done for you. Obviously, maximum effort never took public credit for the debacle that promotion was, but they were still effective in getting butts in the seats and doing what they basically told Sony, I think, allegedly, that they could do. I will start off on July 7, 2023. Deadline announces Blake Lively's Sony Wayfarer Studios movie, It Ends With Us, sets early 2024 release date. So on July 7, 2023, Sony Pictures had set a February 9, 2024 theatrical release. On January 10, 2024, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni movie Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us heads to summer. So at that time, they moved it from February 9 to June 21. Then Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni romance It Ends With Us will now begin in early August. And that was on April 15, 2024 that this was announced. I want you to keep that in mind. April 15, 2024. In that, it says the Blake Lively movie has moved from June 21 to August 9. Well, what was interesting is that on April 4, 2024, it says, faced with yet another unprecedented demand from Lively to edit the film on her own with her own editor, Wayfarer finds itself with no choice but to assent yet again. Wayfarer is forced to balance the need to keep the production on track with managing Lively's increasingly audacious request. Wayfarer reluctantly agrees to grant Lively 10 days in the editing room with her personal editor. Okay, so on August 4, they're granted 10 days. So I said 10 days, including April 4 is April 13, or excluding April 4 is going to be April 14. Either way, between 1 to 2 days after she demanded her edit, they moved the release date to August 9. Okay, just keep all of that in mind. Now let me move on to Deadpool and Wolverine. So the first thing happened on September 27, 2022. It was announced that the movie would come out on September 6, 2024. That was the original date for Deadpool and Wolverine. Then on October 11, 2022, they changed the date again, and it's changed to November 8, 2024. Then on June 13, 2023, it gets moved again. It gets moved to May 3, 2024. Then on November 9, 2023, this is the day that the SAG-AFTRA strike ends, but it also is the time that Wayfarer is given the 17-point side agreement by Blake Lively. It is also the day they officially announced that Deadpool and Wolverine would now be releasing on July 26, 2024. So now, the day that the 17-point side agreement is given to Baldoni and Wayfarer, this is the official date that's given, that they're going to release Deadpool and Wolverine. To some degree, I think that Blake Lively was told to delay everything. That's why she should have come back to the set by November and December, but she moved it until January. And then I think she found out that she needed to move it more. So then demanded the edits, demanded all these things. And then we remember that they had Josh Greenstein really push for Wayfarer to make sure to allow Blake Lively to have chance with the editor in May as well, because they were worried that if they stalled here, then they would have no choice but to move this date, and they could not move this date. Because if they move this date, it would ruin their plans of like having this Barbenheimer moment. This kind of headline was the ultimate goal. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are first married couple to top box office since Bruce Willis and Demi Moore in 1990. And that was done on August 11, 2024. One final thing. I know people used to be like, no, Blake Lively like didn't intentionally plan on having her release date for her hair care product on the same time that she's promoting this movie. That was just a coincidence because they planned that a year in advance. What I will say to you is when I believe, tried to get this push to August, it was with intentionality that it would coincide with her Blake Brown Beauty release. So yes, Blake Brown Beauty didn't move their date. It Ends With Us did. So that is my case for why I believe this was all intentional, but I have no definitive proof, just pattern recognition about movements of dates and release dates. And people are like, well, she doesn't have power with that. I'm sorry, Sony's out there negotiating her approval, begging for her to approve their trailer. So I think she has a lot more power than people give her credit for, or at least her husband.